Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You are listening to episode 106. It's the week of December 13th, 2020. I'm your exhausted host, Drew, and I am joined by Will, who I haven't spoken to really today. How the fuck are you, man?
I'm well, man. You know, it's funny. It seems like the common mantra now is I'm tired or exhausted. It's certainly a sign of the times.
Yeah, man. I have a story.
I can't wait for this.
I have a story to tell. It is currently doing some sort of a wintry terribleness up here in the Northeast, right? And it was pretty much rain on the way home, just rain, which isn't a problem. But it does give me quite a bit of traffic to deal with. So on the way home from work today, Waze was kind of rerouting me all over the place, which it's prone to do in these types of situations. I'm kind of used to that, right? So it drops me off the highway and sends me out on the back roads. And all of a sudden the back roads start getting like really backed up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This doesn't seem normal. I don't know if like it was like a school getting out and like all the parents were just lining up to pick up their kids or what, but it took me like 20 minutes to get through an intersection that should have taken 20 seconds. And then I finally get through it, and all of a sudden I get a tire pressure warning in my car. And that's never a good thing.
No, it's not.
So like I'm like opening the windows, listening for the, that familiar flap of a flat tire. And I don't hear it. So I'm still off the highway at this point. I'm still in back roads. I pull off to the side and find a nice quiet like side street to go on. And I'm out of the car. I'm like kicking on my tires. I'm walking around, pushing on with my thumb and
son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Stupid shit.
But nothing seems flat. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like double check and triple check. And I'm like, well, maybe the sensor just got tripped for some reason, or maybe it's a slow leak. But
temperature.
I was thinking temperature could be an issue, but I'm like 35 miles from home at this point, right? I got a ways to go. So I jump back in the car and I get on the highway, and no sooner am I on the highway than I see a gas station. I'm like, oh, cool. Let me pull off here. Let me air up my tires just in case. It'll be fine. So I pull up to the thing and there's a woman that's already at it, and she's trying to figure out how to use this damn machine, and she can't figure it out for the life of her. And she's got one of the attendants helping her out, and this guy, he was wonderful. He went and aired up all 4 of her tires for her. But it took like 25 minutes for this to get done. I finally pull up, I air up all my tires, and no change to the sensor, still saying, low tire pressure. I'm like, well, it's got air in it, so YOLO. I'll just drive. I'll just drive slow. The roads are wet anyway. I really shouldn't be speeding. I'll just drive slow. I'll stay in the right lane, and if something happens, I can just pull off to the shoulder real quick, and it won't be an issue. It then took me another hour to get home.
Oh, Jesus.
I got off the highway for my exit to, come to my house, and the fucking tire pressure light shuts off.
That's so typical, man.
That son of a bitch was on for 35 miles. I get
just
off
for anxiety reasons.
I was like white knuckle the entire time, dude.
I would have been too, man. However, I've been in that situation many times before with my old car and even my brand new one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And a lot of times it's just, a temperature drop or a temperature rising kind of situation. And it usually goes away, but sometimes it does take some time. Like you have to turn the car on and off. Sometimes it's very finicky.
Yeah. I mean, if it was just a temperature thing, like that's fine. Like I don't have a problem with that. But when I do not work close to home. So the idea of getting a flat tire and having to change it on I-95 is a very real fear. Mm-hmm. And that was almost realized tonight. And the fact that it's almost like I almost wish it did happen, because then like I would have known what was causing the sensor to trip. It wouldn't have been a problem. I would have put the spare tire on and been on my way. Problem solved. No,
yep.
Nothing. No such luck.
Just anxiety the whole way home.
Just anxiety the entire ride home. So
plus traffic,
which was bumper to bumper. And, I just wanted to do like a sweet 55 to 60 miles per hour, nice and easy, and I couldn't even do that. Like I had people in front of me doing 40 when there were no cars in front of them. And then there would be a pile up of cars and everybody would be doing like 75. So what the man. Anyway.
Sounds like Connecticut, man.
It does. That was my evening. That was my evening.
I wish that we could make you remote somehow, man.
I wish so too.
I know it's not possible based on what you do, but man, that would be great if you could.
It would be wonderful. It really would, and like there's a lot of fears with COVID and everything, right now, especially in our business, because we are essential workers, and there's been a couple of close calls in our building, but thankfully nothing too serious. So just got to wear my mask and wash my hands and be diligent,
Keep plugging away. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I am. How are you?
I'm well. I'm a little bit tired just because I stood more today. I know that sounds like such a such a big problem to have. My legs are a little bit sore, God forbid.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, man, I'm great. I had a pretty productive weekend. I wanted to do some gaming. It didn't really happen, but so it goes.
Yep.
And I'm just looking forward to laying out some grumblings today on the show. And
oh boy.
Old man Willie expected. Old man Willie's
yelling at the clouds.
Yeah, I'm going to be spraying kids off my lawn with a hose.
Oh God. I can't wait to make so much fun of you.
I deserve it, man. I am a grumpy fuck about certain things, but I sort of embrace it. It's kind of what makes me me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's real. It's honest opinions. So but outside of that, we have a few things to talk about today, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077.
I am going to dish like all of my thoughts on that. And real quick, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for listening. If you're in the chat room on our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/WDGRPodcast, I want to say hi to you. Thanks to Psychoro Twitch for stopping by. We will be talking about Cyberpunk shortly, my friend. Check us out on the web. We're on www.wdgrpodcast.com. You can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Of course, Will, how can you serenade our listeners with your wonderful music?
SoundCloud.com/will_gear.
And you can find me on Twitter, most notably these days, at ScionStorm. Why don't we... Do you want to start with Cyberpunk? Or you want to start with the Game Awards?
Let's start with Cyberpunk. I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this game.
All right.
There's a lot to cover.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge some of the issues that a lot of people are having with the game, first and foremost. I am playing it on the Xbox Series X. This game was not optimized for any of the base consoles. And when I say base consoles, I mean PlayStation 4, the original one, Xbox One, the original one, and even to some degree the Xbox One S, although I haven't seen too much footage of that particular system. Everybody seems to be either on the base Xbox One or on the One X. It's a buggy mess on those systems. And by all accounts, it seems to be a buggy mess pretty much everywhere. But I've been very lucky with my experience on the Series X that the bugs have been at a minimum. I've encountered a couple. I've only got about, I want to say maybe somewhere between 8 and 10 hours of gameplay so far. So I have a long way to go. But I've put some pretty good work into the game. And, I've been very fortunate with not encountering too many bugs. The ones that I have encountered have been inobtrusive for the most part. There's been some points where I've been getting like a dialogue exchange and the game will freeze and it looks like it's going to hard lock the system when it freezes. And I'm getting a little nervous, and then it just picks up right where it left off. Everything just continues on its merry way without any issues. And then I had one issue where some ragdoll physics were a little weird when I accidentally ran over some dude. I had another one where...
Was it really an accident, Drew?
Completely. In fact, there's footage of it on my Twitter page. I have a running thread of recorded footage that I've been posting on a regular basis. It's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. I was testing what it's like to drive the car in first-person mode, and I came to the quick realization that viewpoint is just not for me. It is a bad look for Drew in Cyberpunk. So I prefer the third person zoomed out furthest view, and that seems to be working pretty well. But yeah, I totally accidentally completely ran over this dude, and he he bounced off my windshield and then kind of like jackknifed in the air and landed with his ass in the air. It was very bizarre, very, very bizarre. But overall, like I'm thoroughly enjoying the game. It has been a lot of fun to play. I think it's important to note that first and foremost, this is very much an RPG. It is not a shooter. It is a game that does have first-person shooting in it, but the majority of the game is driven by dialogue, choices that you're making, stats that your character has, equipment that you're equipping, upgrading, trying to min-max your stats and things along those lines. And if you're going in looking for a first-person shooting experience, I think you're going to be grossly disappointed by that, because the shooting, while it's capable, it's certainly not as refined as a game like Destiny or Gears of War. Vortex, yes, more talky, less shooty. I think that's accurate.
Goddamn chicken.
I think that's an accurate way to put it. Even a game like Mass Effect, I think, is more shooty than it is than Cyberpunk is. But the game, at least on the Series X, feels very very lived in. The environments that they're creating are very immersive. Dense population. The lights are reflecting off of the ground. There's puddles on the street. It looks like it just rained, and you're seeing reflections of buildings on those or lights on those. And it really nails that Blade Runner aesthetic that I fell in love with the game in the first place.
Sure.
You're playing as a character by the name of V, who I haven't gotten to like the major plot point yet. I'm still kind of working my way up to it. But eventually, my understanding is he comes across basically the ghost of a dead rock star. And he acquires this through cybernetics, that dead rock star having been played by Keanu Reeves. But I have not gotten to that point in the game yet. That's kind of just cursory knowledge. I'm sure Damien will fill me in shortly and spoil the whole thing for me, but
Don't do it, dude. We have a ban button.
Yeah, we do. But outside of that, I mean, the game has been a ton of fun. It is an absolute blast for me to play. I'm enjoying thoroughly exploring as much of it as possible. The combat, I'm starting to find this nice in between of using cybernetic powers to debilitate the enemies before I go in and start, actually attacking them. There's sneaking mechanics. There's a cover mechanic where you can fire around cover or pop up above objects. You're not just going straight in, guns blazing. And things like headshots do matter. I have a katana that I can use, and I've actually decapitated people with it, which is pretty cool.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's an adult game through and through, very, very adult, whether it's in the advertising or in the language that's being used, in the blood and guts, in the sexuality. Like, this is a game that is meant for adults. And I appreciate that. There's been a lot of people that have kind of been negative with CD Projekt Red regarding their views on like homosexuality and transgender stuff and those lines. And I can understand why. I haven't seen anything in the game that I've been offended by, but I don't feel that I have the right to say that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for what it is, I'm enjoying it. I think it's got a long way to go. They are patching the game. They actually released an apology on their Twitter page today saying we should have shown people what the game looks like on the base systems. We should have been a little bit more careful about optimizing it for those systems. And they're vowing to make it better. And I applaud them for doing that. But at the same time, IGN just released a review for it, which was 1 page and it was a 4. And it's like, don't play this game until they fix it. And
I saw that.
And that's legit. If you go online and you look up videos of the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster.
It is.
And even if you go into it like expecting it to not look as good as the PC version does, like, this is just unacceptable.
It is. And I think IGN said that verbatim, didn't they? Didn't they say like unacceptable?
Believe so, yeah.
I saw some kind of video or article that said that this is unacceptable, and I like agreed with it, even though I'm not part of this this process, since I don't have the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a crossroads with these generations right now, and this is one of the fears that I believe a lot of Xbox players have, where you're looking at games that are supposed to be cross-generation, but you're going to have to at some point stop optimizing them for the old consoles. You know what I mean? Where do you draw that line? Where do you say, all right, the Xbox One X is no longer worthy of getting these updates. It's time to upgrade your system. And it's a little easier to do that on a PC when you have like graphics cards with like hard and fast numbers, but PC gamers know what to expect. With console gamers, you're just marketing everything as Xbox. You pick up the game case, it says Xbox. It doesn't say Series X. It doesn't say One X. Not at the top, it just says Xbox, and that's going to confuse people. Most players like, us and anybody that's listening to this podcast will probably have a better idea what's going on. And I'd like to think that the majority of them probably already have the new systems or the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X. But for those that don't, this is going to be
me.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a disappointing experience. If you were to buy this game, like, I can't recommend it to you. I can't recommend it at all. And if you did buy it, like, I think you would be furious.
Oh, I bet. I mean, from what I've seen, and it's not pretty. I mean, this is looking like Max Payne, on PS1 or PS2 or whatever. It's bad.
It really is. There's got to be a better way to handle that sort of thing. Instead of trying to like just cram so much information down a smaller pipe, just send less. You know, I mean,
Yeah, I
I'm not a
mean,
programmer.
right. But this all of this is so relevant, and it really does matter because think about all the people that did not score a PS5 or weren't lucky enough to get an Xbox One Series X. They have their, like you said, their PS4 Pros or their regular Xbox Ones. Maybe they have
Mm-hmm.
an Xbox One S or launch PS4 like I do.
Right.
There's plenty of people that are in that situation, and
Mm.
that's totally unfair. You know, why should they have to upgrade their PC to some $4,000 machine or wait until they can get a new console just to play this game?
Agreed. I agree 100% with that. And it's unfortunate. I mean, the thing would be just, it would have been handled much better if they just said flat out, it's available on the Series X, the Series S, and the PS5. Full stop.
Hmm.
Because then, like, I mean, we're used to that. As gamers, we're used to having games stop being available at a certain point. Now, I've praised the backwards compatibility for the Xbox and the PS5. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a necessary thing. But I don't think it's necessary at the cost of building a quality game. You know,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have like backwards compatibility doesn't mean like forwards compatibility too. You know, like
Yeah.
make it for the Series X, make it for the PS5, make it so it doesn't play on the One X and the PS4. Boom, done.
Hmm. Hmm.
But they didn't do that.
Yeah, I hate to use Metal Gear as a reference, but I got to say, MGS5, they did a really good job
Mm.
releasing that on Xbox One, or excuse me, Xbox 360, PS3, and then PS4 and Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it did, I mean, yeah, if you look at it closely, sure, there's some differences, but they were so minor that the people that couldn't afford a PS4 or didn't have one were able to play it on the PS3 just fine, and it still looked tremendous. So
Yeah.
that's a good example of how to do it properly.
And I think the difference with that too is they're completely different discs. So you have these games that are designed to work in that system. They're not designed to work, across multiple systems. You know, so
Hmm.
it's a little different, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm just talking out my ass, I suppose. But overall,
Well,
the game, I mean, it's good. Like, I mean, my experience has been very positive. You know,
yeah,
the
some of those screenshots that you shared are pretty amazing. I looked at one of them when you sent me that link for
Mhm.
your Twitter on Discord,
Yeah.
and that screenshot that you took. I mean, the rain effect and or the rain effects and the water on the concrete, the tarmac. It looked very real.
Yeah, I mean the reflections and the neons, the neon lights, and all of that stuff is just truly amazing in the right context. I'm dying to see what this game is going to look like when the next gen patches hit these systems. I'm disappointed that it's so poor on the previous generations. I think they're going to focus all their efforts on fixing that first, as they should. But um, I also, I just wish that like they released it ready. Like I don't know why they forced it out the door. Is it fourth quarter financials they're trying to hit or
I
pressure?
think so.
Like another year wouldn't have made that much of a difference. I mean, it's would have sucked, but
So, well, this game was supposed to come out way earlier this year, correct? Like I saw a video um, recently because I was doing some research on this game like over the past week to get ready for this episode.
mm,
And I watched everything. Like I watched the original trailer from 2018
mm-hmm,
that everybody raved about, the
mm.
Keanu Reeves appearance one, all of it. And I saw one that said release date. I think it was like March of this year.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out March or April this year. It was supposed to come out last year, if I'm not mistaken. This has been delayed multiple times, and then
Yeah.
this year alone, it was delayed 3 or 4 times.
Jesus.
So, at this,
That's happening a lot, man.
it is, and this year was different for a lot of reasons, and I get that. You can't expect, I think, game designers to function in a way that they're not used to with COVID restrictions and people working from home. You would think that the industry would be set up that way to make it work seamlessly, but I guess it's not. And
Mm.
a lot of businesses have struggled to adapt to a work from home environment, despite the fact that they're online 100% using IP based phones, all these different things. You would think that they would have the ability to just flip a switch and make it work. But I think from the top, the corporate side of things, they just can't wrap their minds around the process. And I do think that the games industry has been heavily affected by that. There are very few companies that have made that adjustment well. I mean, there's been delays across some of the biggest studios. You know, Halo Infinite's been delayed till next year. And that's just one case. And I don't think that COVID is the only reason, but I do believe it's playing a huge part of it. Same thing with Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it could be something as simple as just not having the right tools at their disposal,
Right.
Versus, the office and home. Because, when you watch those behind the scenes videos of how they make a game, I mean, their cubicles are jam packed with multiple monitors and high end PCs and hardware, and maybe they don't have all of that at home. It could be, that along with, pressure from investors. Killer Sirach says fourth quarter pressure. And
Yeah.
I deal with it on a daily basis, working with businesses, trying to get them to transition into a work from home environment. And it's there's been a lot of bleeding that's been happening, making those transitions. So it does make sense.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, they can use this opportunity to kind of figure it out. I'm willing to be patient. As I've said multiple times already, my experience has been mostly positive. Thankfully, Xbox and PlayStation are issuing refunds to those who are unhappy with the game.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and CD Projekt Red, to their credit, acknowledged that and recommended that people do that if they're not happy with the situation. They don't want to wait. And Saikoro mentions too. People are also forgetting that The Witcher ran rough on release, and under COVID restraints, CDPR had to work with 5 platforms, and those are very valid points. A lot of people see The Witcher 3 as this gorgeous, perfect game, but this game was patched to fuck before it became that level. Now, I don't have experience with The Witcher 3 to, have any personal anecdotes, but I've heard that repeated before by multiple people, and I think it's easy as players to get excited about a game and get so wrapped up in the process of watching the trailers and pre-ordering the game and getting excited and talking about it. I mean, hell, even in our own Discord, we have our own Cyberpunk 2077 room, and people are talking about this game. We're getting each other excited, and then they drop it and it doesn't meet expectations. And that's rough. That's real rough. So, as gamers, I think we need to kind of take a step back and cool it as well too. But that doesn't mean that I'm allowing CDPR to get away with what they've done on the base consoles. Like, they need to be held accountable for it. And to their credit, they seem to be taking responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's well said, man.
Yeah.
My thoughts exactly, honestly.
Vortex makes a good point. He says COVID restrictions were only this year. What happened for the other years? Excellent point. What was their excuse for the past 4 or 5 years? I mean, the game was announced in 2013. That's the same year that the last generation consoles came out.
Jesus, was it really that long ago?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. So
that really was forever ago, man.
Yeah, it seems like it, but that's what, 7 years?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, these games were originally planned before the Series X and the PS5 were even a conversation. So what happened? I mean, that's valid. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, when you make, dude, I had no idea it was 2013. When you make that statement, it really does make you think, sure, COVID had something to do with this. There's no doubt about it, but that long in development, and we get something that we see on the PS4 looking like Max Payne 2. It's hard to give them that get out of jail free card.
Right. Also from the Twitch chat, Vortex says, I'm not sure if it's a good thing if people are saying, hey, it's just Witcher 3 with a new coat of paint either. I don't have that point of reference to confirm or deny whether it's Witcher 3 with a new coat of paint. I do know I know that the Witcher 3 did not have vehicles. So, and it did not
horses,
have,
and I think that's it.
Yeah, there were no assault rifles. There were no cybernetics. So, look, an RPG is an RPG is an RPG. You could say the same thing about every Final Fantasy that's come out, and there's 15 of them, So if they're taking something that is an evolution of the previous one and putting a new spin on it, that's fine by me. I don't expect them to reinvent the wheel. I just need to make sure that the wheel is actually able to roll.
You know what I think it boils down to, man, is when you take that trailer, I forget which one I watched. It's one with like amazing music, and I think it's the debut one where you see at the end that dude, like the sort of main protagonist or whoever they want to use as the main protagonist, gets out of his car at the end and stands there, and then Cyberpunk comes across the screen, and the video I was watching, the crowd just goes wild. It was definitely like an E3 trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of seeing trailers like that and gameplay trailers that look absolutely astounding, and then we get this,
Mm-hmm.
or we get a game that looks like pretty close to that, but it's still full of bugs. It's the Watch Dogs 1 effect, man. I've talked about that before, how that trailer was notorious for just leading people on and giving us something that also looked like Max Payne 2.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think as gamers, we're growing tired of that. If you're going to demo it on a high-end PC, fine.
Right.
But you've got to be able to deliver this for the people that are generally console gamers. We cannot look at this and get a boner, and then when it comes out, we're not in the same position that we were in before.
Right.
And it really is frustrating. And I get it. Game development's difficult. I know nothing about it, but just don't tease us with something that looks one way and then release it and it just doesn't look anything like it.
Yep.
Or play like it.
Exactly. I mean, game development, evolves over time. Maybe we'll see something in early trailers that doesn't pan out in the final version, right? Like that happens, and that's to be expected. But when you release a game that looks like, Spider-Man on the PS5, and you show the teasers for it, but then the actual final product is Spider-Man on the Atari 2600. You know what I mean? Like one of my favorite memes that I've seen with this whole Cyberpunk thing is it shows like one of the E3 teasers, right? And it shows somebody walking through the city, and it's playing the intro to Jurassic Park where you hear Hammond saying like, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and it's got that music, na 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 na,
Yeah, which is amazing. By
it's
the way,
absolutely amazing. And then it shows you the PS4 gameplay, and somebody is playing the Jurassic Park on a theme on a kazoo, and it's really bad.
Yeah, I shared that with quite a handful of folks.
It's like that's the funniest thing I've seen in December.
Yeah, and the scary part about it is that it was a reality,
Yeah.
for those base console people. But yeah, man, I think it's fair to kind of complain or bitch about this because it's not happening all the time. We're getting plenty of games where they show gameplay and they show trailers and it lives up to that.
Right.
You get the game and it looks just like that.
Yep.
God of War, Metal Gear Solid 5, I could name a ton.
Yeah.
But the times that it doesn't happen, it's just very frustrating because Cyberpunk, I mean, that trailer, dude,
Yeah.
when I watched it the other day, I was like, damn, dude, that was a fucking amazing trailer.
Yeah.
And here we are. So
Yeah.
all I can say is I'm glad that you're having a good experience with it. Yes, it's probably frankly because you do have a new console and it's all rigged up for that and it's optimized. But man, I hope that with some patches and updates, we can get the base consoles up to speed and we can get the new ones bugged out.
Right. Vortex is talking about PUBG on the Twitch chat here. He says PUBG on Xbox was bad, really, really bad, but it also came out as beta and built from there, so people were okay with it. Well, you know what else came out as a beta? Anthem. And look how that turned out. So like that can
Prime
really
example.
That can go both ways. Like, should they have put Cyberpunk out as a beta? Maybe. I mean, I guess, I don't think people would be as angry, but they would also be like, come on, like you've had 7 years. Why is this still in beta? Like, don't release the game. Just don't release the game. And if you need people to understand why, fucking show them. Just be like, yo, this is what it looks like. Do you want it? All right then.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think we're impatient as gamers by nature, right? And that's still something that's happening in 2020 and going forward. We're always going to be impatient. We're going to get hyped up, but there is a movement and this sort of wave of patience that's also happening as well, where we're getting these delays and we're acknowledging it, with a head nod saying, you know what? Fair.
Right.
And it is fair because at the end of the day, we want something that's not Watch Dogs 1.
Yeah.
We want a complete game that's looking like how you debuted it. So I think most of us can probably be in that camp.
There are so many games being released at such a ridiculous clip. Indie, AAA, you name it. I'm okay with waiting. There's so much stuff to play. I mean, you know, I got games. I don't need it right now. If it needs another year to bake in the oven, fucking anyway.
Yeah, I tell you what, to kind of segue in there, I looked up a list of every game that was released this year, and that definitely humbled me because there was a moment I was like, fucking nothing came out this year, dude.
Right.
And then I looked at that list and I was like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I mean, granted, a lot of the games are, they fall under the radar because they're not your AAAs, but even still, man, there was a lot that came out this year and a lot that was good.
Yeah. Killer Sirach says you got to feel bad for those developers who get worked to the bone. Crunch is really bad. And that's a common conversation that we have in our Discord room with Joe and Puxor. Pux can give a bit more of a real world insight to it, being a developer himself. And, that is an issue, developer crunch is an issue, and the culture needs to change. They need to come up with ways to ensure that their guys are not getting burned out, even staying after work an hour, every day after work. Like, if you do the math, like, you're putting in an extra 2 or 3 weeks at the end of the year.
Oh, that hour is equivalent to 8 hours, considering how hard they already work.
Yeah, exactly. Vortex says I was hyped for Anthem and then I've learned my lesson. Last game I was hyped for was Master Chief Collection. That was the worst launch in Xbox history. And to their credit, with Master Chief Collection, they've turned that around and made a great game out of it. I mean, there's been repeated cases over the past 5 years of games that have had terrible launches and through patches have been brought to glory. No Man's Sky is another great example of that. That game was a dumpster fire on release, and now, I mean, it won a fucking award at the Game Awards.
Yeah. That dude got memed so bad too.
Right, but that company worked hard and has redeemed themselves. So I mean, it's possible. We are living in an age where patching is not just a solution, it's becoming the answer. And I think there's going to need to be a balance between the two. That wall behind me, all those games, once they're pressed, that was it. There were no patches. Everything nowadays, I think it's just like, fuck it, just get it out the door. We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it later. And
yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head, man. It's a balance, just like anything, right?
I appreciate.
We got to get that balance.
I agree 100%. I appreciate the fact that they're able to patch these things, but they're reliant on it, and I think that's a problem.
It's becoming a crutch.
Yes, 100%.
And it's a crutch that we don't want to use anymore. We don't even want them doing it. We want to support them and say, you know what, whoever's pushing them, whoever's saying, hey, I'm going to bring the whip in again before you guys, we need this game out by December 12 or whatever. Right. That needs to stop. And I don't know if that's coming from, the corporate side of things or what. And I'm sure some of it is.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, let's put a nail in it for Cyberpunk. Let's move on to the Game Awards. So I watched the entire thing. Will, you rage quit after 20 minutes. Is that accurate?
It was 20. It's fairly accurate. I mean, what's accurate is I definitely rage quit. It wasn't like an angry, oh my God, fuck this. It was just more like when we got to the Mario Orchestral Suite tribute thing, I said to Lauren, I was like, all right, if there's nothing good after this, we're turning it off and we're watching whatever. And sure enough, I don't remember what was after it, but it was enough to close it out.
Okay.
Here's the thing, man. I love Jeff Keighley. I love what he's doing. I love the fact that he's promoting the Game Awards and we have something that's similar to the Academy Awards for games. 100%, full stop, love it. But, I mean, what was that other show that I watched earlier this year? Was that E3? I know this sounds so redundant. What was the other one that I complained about?
I mean, yeah, I'd have to take a look and try to figure that out because E3 was weird this year too.
Yeah, I think it was E3, but there was some other award show, and Lauren was reminding me, she's like, honey, like you definitely watched something else and you were bitching about it before this year. And I was like, yeah, I think it might have been E3. And she's like, wasn't that E3? And I was like, it might have been, but like right now I can't even think straight. And it's just, here's the thing, man. I'm really lacking, and I feel like these award shows are lacking the power and the hype that was being delivered years ago. And I'm not talking like 5, 6 years ago. I mean, in some ways, yes, but even 3, 4 years ago, when we were seeing stuff like God of War being teased and shown, and that sort of Evo hype that Vic would be familiar with, I miss that, and I think a lot of gamers are missing it. And I understand that the industry is changing and that indie games are becoming more prevalent, and we're seeing more of those kind of showcases and those kind of debut trailers, those world premieres. But I think I just want to see more of Mass Effect that debuted at the Game Awards. I mean, that I have notes here. The good Mass Effect trailer. That's all I have for the good.
All right. I think I watched the entire thing. Right. It was about 2 hours long. I didn't watch the pre-show. I guess there might have been a pre-show that was like an hour or two long too.
I watched that.
Okay. So that was just what, Sydney Goodman just announcing stuff? Nothing else really?
It was her, and here's what was weird about the pre-show. There was a lot of awards during that.
Yeah.
So the cadence just seemed already kind of off to start. And I understand that that's just how they wanted to do it, but I don't know. It was weird.
But I mean, they do that shit at the Oscars too.
I suppose they do. I guess I didn't think about that, but it just felt a little disjointed. But I was able to get over that.
So, from my perspective, there were a number of games that looked tremendous that were announced in this. We have the what the hell's the name of it? Well, first of all, there's Back 4 Blood, which is a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead by the studio that made Left 4 Dead. So that's
I was rolling my eyes a lot for that.
Were you?
I was, but here's the thing: it was nothing against the game. I just personally can't stand anything to do with zombies.
Okay, so
for me, it was just like, oh my god, here we go. Here's another zombie game.
All right. Well, that franchise is a lot of fun for a lot of people, myself included.
And I understand that.
Perfect Dark is coming back after not being around since the 360 days, the 360 launch.
That was pretty cool.
So that's fucking cool. And I'm looking at the IGN article that you linked, trying to refresh my memory here. There's a lot of stuff here that I really don't give a shit about, like Sephiroth being in Smash. Although where he stabbed Mario through the suspenders, I thought that was pretty brilliant. It looked like he fucking knifed the dude right in the chest.
It was, because Lauren was like, "Oh my god, did Mario die?" And I was like, "There's no way."
One can only hope.
That was clever. I'll give him that.
Nier Replicant looks like that's going to be fun. That's a pretty hot franchise for a lot of people. Let's see here. So we got Back 4 Blood. We had there's quite a few games I just didn't care about. Scavengers looks interesting for some people, not for me. I'm fine with that. The Callisto Protocol. The Callisto Protocol is going to scare the shit out of you. It's not for you. That game is a big fucking deal. Let me tell you. It's the creator of Dead Space in his new studio. People have been waiting for that. Talk to Vic. He's been waiting for that. I've been waiting for that. Like, that game is going to be a big deal. And I'm sorry that you don't like zombies and horror, but that game is going to be awesome. Like, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I actually missed that one because I got up to do something. I forgot what I was doing.
Yeah.
Probably like a cat problem or something. I remember Lauren saying, like, she said, "Oh, this looks really disturbing." And I was like, well, good thing I'm not watching. Then I came back and I saw like the end of it.
Yeah.
Then I saw that interview with that dude that looks like he's like a military war veteran. Who's in that video about the making of Dead Space. Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the trenches with that series for sure. But that game's going to be great. Or at least let me put it this way. I'm getting hyped again, just like I did with Cyberpunk. That game has the potential to be great. That has the potential to be a game that is talked about 20 years from now. Because that track, I'm serious, that track record.
No, I'm sorry. I was just laughing at something that Damien said there.
Lock Will in a room and force him to play Dead Space. Yeah.
My worst nightmare.
Yeah, seriously. If you could ever get past that, those games are tremendous and worth your time. Let's see here. Disco Elysium, I think, is going to be a big deal because that game has gotten a lot of praise on the PC side. It's finally coming to consoles. It is a dialogue-heavy RPG. It's the kind of thing I
Hmm.
might like, but I don't know if either one of us will truly dive into it.
No, I doubt it.
Um, let's see here. Open Roads. I remember the trailer, but I'm trying to remember what that's about.
The two, yeah, it was the two
Yeah,
women in the car.
right. I don't want to. I don't want to play it because I don't want my ears to blow up. But that seems like the kind of thing that I would like. You know, that kind of indie game kind of thing.
Hmm.
Endless Dungeon is by the same guys that did Dungeon of the Endless, which is a really cool roguelike strategy game that's available on all platforms. I enjoy that game, so I'm going to keep my eyes open on that one as well. Um, Crimson
Crimson
Desert.
Desert.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
mind diving. I was just going to say that that was one that I actually put under the good on my
Hmm.
notes here because even though the trailer was like 30 minutes long,
Oh,
which
it
was
was
really
long.
weird, I was like, when is this ever going to end? I mean, it looks cool because it reminds me of like an open world, sort of
Hmm.
a massive open world Skyrim in a way.
Yeah,
It was appealing,
I don't give a shit about that game.
but yeah, it's just having it be 30 minutes and having Jeff Keighley wear just like I don't know, man. Like just that, and like Jeff Keighley's terrible blue high top sneakers and that suit didn't look good. The connection and the quality of the show wasn't good,
Yeah.
and that could have just been my internet, but I don't think it was because everything else was fine. And I even shuffled between different streams, like different companies and,
Yeah.
partners that were streaming it, and it was all just bad.
Mm.
And then I don't know, man. The open road thing, I wanted to segue in there because I appreciate that there's more of these indie games that are
Mm.
hitting the scene, but I think there's almost too many now, and we're actually now missing the big stuff. We're
Mm.
missing the AAA hype trailers that I'm looking to see. So if we can just get a little bit more of that, I said this many episodes ago. I was like, I just want to get wowed, Drew.
Mm.
I just want to be wowed. And I feel like that's not happening enough these days with these award shows.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say it's selfish because I am a little bit particular, but I just want to see something that's on par with a big AAA hyped trailer. That's
Mm.
all I'm asking for. We used to get them all the time. We're not getting them anymore. And I don't know if it's just because these games are in development longer or what, but I
Mm.
just want to see more.
I mean, there were some AAA titles that were announced, and whether they ended up wowing you or not is going to be basically up to what you like. Um, fucking Arc 2. Arc is a huge game. I have no interest in it, but it is a huge game. Like that's a AAA title, and Vin Diesel is in it. Why?
I knew that was him.
I don't know why Vin Diesel's in it, but Vin Diesel's in it. So like, for a lot of people, that's a big deal. For us, that's not a big deal.
Right.
But that is a AAA title. That trailer is meant to wow you. So they're doing that stuff. They're just not striking the right note for you. And that's okay. But I just want you to understand that it's happening.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in complete
Yeah.
understand or I understand it, but
Mm.
I think there's still an argument to be had that we're not getting those blockbuster trailers that we used to get. It's just not happening.
I mean, I'm looking at this list and I can't disagree with you more. You know,
Well, I mean, I still feel like we're not getting the familiar blockbuster
I,
trailers. Like we're not getting like, I mean, I should have really written a list out, but
I think you're just looking for more sequels. Then, like you're looking for the new Battlefield trailer. Is that what
yeah,
you're looking for?
well, that and
Hmm.
also like new IPs that are blockbuster AAA IPs that look like next gen games that
But
don't look like open road.
I mean, they're in here. Like Outriders is done by SquareSoft, Square Enix. That's a AAA title. Um, there's at least half a dozen AAA studios in here making those types of games. Elder,
I don't know, man. I guess I just want to see more from. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the Mass Effect teaser got me excited, and it was 1 minute and 43 seconds. But there's trailers in here that are 3 times as long. From studios that are on the same level as Electronic Arts. So yeah, I'm just looking through the list, and I understand, like, it just doesn't look like there was anything here for you. I think I just leave it at that.
I guess not.
Yeah.
But I still think that when you go back and you watch other award shows from the past, we were getting more hype, and perhaps that was because there were more sequels, there was more familiarity with a lot of the games, and there was a live audience. And this is just done differently.
I don't think the live audience has anything to do with it.
Well, I mean, the hype definitely helps when you have that live audience and you can hear the reactions at E3 when it was actually, you were there watching the stream.
I guess. I mean, Nintendo's been releasing Nintendo Directs directly to the viewers for years now. People get really hyped about those games. Sony was doing it all year. I mean, it's not unheard of for these studios to release trailers to no live audience. Like that's not a new concept. E3 is a big deal, yes, and I think a part of that is the crowd, but hearing people cheering after a trailer is announced doesn't do anything for me.
No,
It doesn't change my hype level. Either I'm hyped for the game or I'm not, and that's regardless of what anybody else is cheering or booing.
Yeah. I mean, I feed off of that. I feed off of that energy.
Okay.
Granted, there are people that will cheer a game that I don't give a shit about, like Borderlands or whatever, and I'll just pass on it. So it doesn't matter how much they're cheering. But
so let me ask this then: if there was a Battlefield 5 or 6 or whatever it is, what number are they on? I don't even know.
6.
Battlefield 6. All right. If they had a teaser that was the same length as a Mass Effect trailer for Battlefield 6, would that be like what you're looking for, or would you expect more from that, like more like gameplay, or like what are you looking for specifically? Give me specifics.
Sure. I mean, I guess a good thing that I could say is when I rage quit, I proceeded to bitch to Lauren for like 20 minutes.
Poor Lauren.
I got really bitter. Well, she was actually like absorbing it, which was kind of nice.
She's a
and
sweetheart.
I know she is. She's tolerant of my crazy ways. Let's just put it that way. But no, I proceeded to bitch, and then I was like, you know what? We're gonna watch some stuff. And then I went back and I went to E3 2016, E3 2015, all these years that I remember these big blockbuster titles that I was mentioning. They were happening more often. At least that's what I feel, or that's how I feel about it. And we watched like Watch Dogs 1 trailer, the one that was actually good. We watched Battlefield 3 launch trailer, just all this stuff that I remember getting really excited about. And it's just how I remember these things being. And we watched it, and she was like, yeah, that's definitely a big difference than what we watched. And that's, I think, ultimately what I'm looking for. If you were to ask me, what do I want to see from Battlefield 6? I want to see like the equivalent of what we got then, like a massive, really well-made launch trailer. Like, for example, that Mass Effect trailer, more of that.
Okay.
I want to see more of that.
I think you're cherry picking your positive memories and forgetting about all the other games that were also announced during those same conferences that you've forgotten about, that had trailers like the ones that we were seeing at the Game Awards. Because for every Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 trailer there's going to be a Pokemon Snap trailer, or
right.
you know what I mean? So it's I think you're picking the memories that you want and ignoring the rest, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I think you're getting closer to understanding what I'm saying, though, which is, you know how you said that there's like a Pokemon Snap trailer in between some of that stuff? I'm saying that there's more Pokemon Snaps now.
I disagree.
And there's not enough of the what we were getting before.
I'm going to disagree 100% with that. There are a lot of games that were announced at the Game Awards that I am super stoked for. Some of them are indie, some of them are AAA, some of them are somewhere in between that. And like the Evil Dead game, oh, I can't wait for that. Love Evil Dead as a franchise. That game is going to be so bad, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. Outriders, I think, is going to be a big deal if they can get their shit together. But I mean, like, yeah, it just...
I think we're just looking for different games.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I just I I guess I'm just not on the same page as you with how the presentation was overall, and saying that there wasn't anything, because that's not true.
Yeah. Well, it's not anything that I guess I'm used to. Let's just
Mm,
say that because I feel like it's open road, open road, open road, open road, and then an hour later Mass Effect,
mm,
and then a couple other games, and then the show's over. That's what I'm seeing,
mm-hmm,
and I want to see like Mass Effect, Battlefield 6, God of War 2, like
mm.
big titles, one after the other, after the other, after the other, and then a few open roads sprinkled in.
So let's say they did that. Let's say they gave you that case, right? Um, what happens 3 or 4 years from now when the game comes out and it doesn't look anything like that teaser trailer?
I mean, it would bring me to the same, thought process before, disappointed,
Right. And
you know.
and Vortex makes a good point that it sounds like you're looking for a lot of sequels rather than original games too.
See, this is where I don't want to get this skewed either, because
Mm.
even though I'm using sequels as an example, it's just because I can't use new IPs as an example because, well, they don't exist. But I want to see new games, which I've mentioned before in the show, new games that have that same level of quality that I'm expecting from sequels, if that makes sense. So that
Mm.
one demo that I mentioned before that they demoed on PS5, it was that Tomb Raider looking game that blew me away,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to see just more of that at these kind of game shows. I think that's ultimately just what I'm saying is I want to see something that is groundbreaking.
Mm.
Then
Okay.
I guess that's a loose term because some people can consider what we saw at the Game Awards groundbreaking.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know that I would say there was anything groundbreaking. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think there was anything groundbreaking. I do think that there were a lot of very exciting reveals. For me, I walked away being very optimistic about the next 2 to 3 years of gaming. Now, the awards part of the show, um, that was a bunch of bullshit. uh,
Yeah. Like I said, Jeff Keighley's blue sneakers, man.
uh,
Why? I
yeah.
get the whole sneakers with the suit look. I've done it before, but dude, it just made him look so I don't know, man. It just looked weird and kind of silly. And I
I
just felt like saying, like, Jeff, you're just trying too hard now, man.
I will defer to your judgment on that because if anybody's an expert on style in this duo, it's certainly not Mr. Flannel and Red Cap here. So I will leave all the Jeff Keighley style advice to your capable hands.
Well, it was like the first thing that Laura and I saw. We're like, why those? Why not like a black high top or something so
Mm.
it would have matched the suit a little bit? I mean, granted, yeah, I'm sure he just wanted to stand out, but it was a little bit cringy.
Well, you guys also worked in fashion for quite some time too, so maybe somebody just needs to dress him.
Well, the sad thing is he probably has a stylist,
That's true.
and they were probably like, you know what, Jeff, why don't you slide these guys on? It'll make you look cooler.
Oh God. Did you have any comments on any of the awards that were given, or any thoughts on any of that stuff?
I mean, I saw some. I mean, granted, I tuned out after the Mario Suite, which I also thought was a little bit strange because I think orchestral versions of video game music are generally brilliant, but that one I just felt like it didn't quite work because
Mm.
the theme of Mario, that sort of 8-bit theme, is so hard to do on violins that I just felt like it was very, very forced.
Mm.
Um, that was just my opinion, but outside of that, as far as the awards, it seemed like Last of Us 2. I mean, they won, right? They won Game of the Year.
Yeah, I believe so. Honestly,
Yes.
I've forgotten because I just didn't really care about the awards. I mean, like these awards are so they're bullshit. They're just
Yeah.
they're just total bullshit. And just
It's a lot
like
of fluff.
it's a lot of fluff. It's meant to be fun. I think they're fairly meaningless and fairly harmless overall. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think The Last of Us 2 is worthy of being Game of the Year, but is it my Game of the Year? I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. There are a lot of really good games that came out this year. So, but I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I was a little disappointed that Doom Eternal didn't get best soundtrack.
It is good.
I thought that game really deserved it. As much as I was frustrated by the actual game itself, I really believe that, Mick Gordon and company put out some quality music, and it should have gotten something.
Yeah, I think, ultimately these award shows, they generally do have a cringy cadence to them. And I don't think any of us are really watching them because we enjoy the awards part or the cadence of the show. We're
No.
looking for
No.
the trailers. We want to see the world premieres. And we're all crossing our fingers for the games that we want to see.
Right.
And I think ultimately that's where everyone's going to have that different outlook on it, that different perspective. I think you and I are a perfect example. I'm looking for something different. You're happy with what was presented. And I think you're going to get a lot of people that are in my shoes and a lot of people that are in yours as well.
Yeah. I was disappointed that they didn't show anything for Starfield, which is that new Bethesda game that's been announced for a little while now. I thought they were going to be announcing that at the end of the show when they did the Mass Effect trailer, because they were showing like all these galaxies and stuff. I'm like, ooh, Starfield. And then fucking N7 logo, and I like lost my shit. You can go back on our Twitter timeline and find that spot. I'm like fuck, ah!
Oh Jesus!
It was something, man. But I can't wait for that. And like it's so weird because my interest level in replaying the original trilogy remastered is pretty low, but now that they announced that, I'm a little bit more hyped about it. Yeah, lost my shit is an understatement, says Killer Sirach. Yeah, that's accurate, man. Oh God. Well, hopefully next year will bring you what you're looking for.
I hope so, man.
I really do, because it's no fun to not be excited as a gamer. Like, there's got to be something that you're eager to be playing. Got to be something that you're eager to be looking at trailers for, reviews. SF6, Street Fighter 6. Go ahead, Will.
I was just going to say, yeah, I just feel like ultimately my list is thinning. Like when I write down in my little journal here, games I'm looking forward to in the future and next year, I just feel like it just gets smaller and smaller because there hasn't been anything over the past, I would say, to be fair, really this year that's wowed me. But it's such a weird year, and it's such a weird time for us right now. We're transitioning to new consoles. We just got to give it more time. I think that's what I need. I just need more time. And when COVID ends, and hopefully we can go back to how things used to be with E3 and some of these shows just being kind of more of a reality, then perhaps my mind will change.
Hopefully. I want you to be excited about games, man.
Yeah, and I'm like harkening back to older titles now, which is not a bad thing, but it would be nice to be able to look ahead.
Yeah. Well, you've been trying to get your hands on something for a little while. Can you give us some updates on that? Let's transition to the next topic here.
Yeah. So I think I've definitely mentioned on the show before, I'm really looking to get a Switch again. I don't really know what prompted this. I think that I just had this random hankering to play an action-y platinum game again, and coming off of some of these indie titles, it would be good to just be a little bit more engaged in gameplay. So hence Fallen Order. However, getting a Switch will give me the ability to finally beat Bayonetta 2, which I think is a masterful game, and I really want to play Astral Chain, which is another Platinum's game. So yeah, I'm trying to get one. I'm now watching nowinstock.com, which I think is a site you recommended. So keeping my eye on that, but ultimately waiting for Christmas money. I generally get a nice little hefty amount. So once I get that, I will continue my search, and it might be challenging because since I'm waiting until Christmas to try and find one, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be in the same boat where they want to spend their gift cards and Christmas money on a Switch, which is going to be a little bit more available than the new consoles.
I think you'll have a better shot at getting it after Christmas. I think, if anything, people are going to be looking to give them as gifts.
That's true. That's true, too.
Killer Sirach says there's 3 in stock in Target and Trumbull. Trumbull's a little far from you, so that's probably not going to work. It's very far. But if you put in an order, I can always swing by on the way home from work, pick it up for you. I wouldn't mind.
That's true. But
So
yeah, ultimately, man, I just want a gray Switch. I want a Pro controller as well.
mhm.
So it's going to be a hefty purchase,
Yeah.
getting a Switch, the controller, and then also I have to buy Bayonetta 2 again because I had the physical copy.
Mhm.
But I think it's what I need in my life right now. I just need a little bit more variety, and I think having the Switch again is going to hopefully open some more doors
Mhm.
for some pretty cool indie titles and maybe something else. We'll see.
There's some great stuff on the Switch. Give it your full attention, and I think you'll be rewarded. I've been really kind of ignoring it for the past 6 months. I feel terrible, but there's been so much else to play.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Um,
So that is my mission. Hopefully, I can succeed in it. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. I once I can get my teeth sunk into Fallen Order, I can start transitioning into to playing the Switch. Hopefully, end of this month, moving into January.
game is so much fun. I am like sort of kicking myself for starting Cyberpunk because I haven't finished Fallen Order yet. But that game is so much fun. I cannot wait to talk to you about that game.
Is it Phil Spencer that's the head of Xbox?
Yes.
Okay, so he was on some kind of pre-show for the Game Awards on a different channel. It was on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and I heard him say that he was pretty kind of perked up to see that a lot of people were actually playing Fallen Order
Yeah.
because of Game Pass, and he was like it was kind of impressive to see like this older game. It's not that much older, but something that people were firing up again, and it's kind of cool that he is actually paying attention to those things and not just sitting at some fancy desk with like a quill pen
Yeah. I
just like writing off contracts and shit.
I gotta give Phil Spencer a lot of credit. Like this guy is on the ball. He pays attention to what's going on in the industry. He's a gamer. He plays games. He's turned the Xbox division around. The Xbox One really kind of was in a bad spot when he took over, and I think that he saved Xbox. I firmly believe that. This guy has his pulse on the community. He's very smart, very astute, but you could tell he also really loves video games. And that's what I think the Xbox needs because, as you and I have discussed time and time again, the Xbox One got slaughtered by the PlayStation 4 for very valid reasons.
Yeah.
The exclusives were really lacking, and Phil Spencer is out for blood. I think people need to be on notice, man. Like if Xbox starts dropping some serious exclusives, don't be surprised. Phil Spencer's not playing around.
Yeah, he kind of looks like that cool uncle that still plays games, you know?
Yeah, he totally is. But then, he'll go and make like $1 million in an afternoon. So,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, I think he's good for the division. I really do. And I think with the Series S and Series X, him and his team have put together a very powerful console that has the ability to handle pretty much whatever they throw at it. And Game Pass, I think, is a hit. It's a runaway hit. And once they start moving past consoles and going into the streaming environment, I think you're going to have a lot of people that are going to have Game Pass in their households because he's moving towards cloud. Before you know it, you're going to have an app on your Apple TV that's going to be Xbox Game Pass, and you can just Bluetooth your PlayStation controller to it and start playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. Might not happen, in 2021, but I would say within the next 5 years, you're going to see that happen.
Yeah, no, I think it's very likely, extremely likely.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be a valid way for a lot of people to play too, because then you can spend the $15 a month. You have to worry about dropping $500 on a console in a year, and let the Xbox Cloud handle all the processing for you.
Yeah, Masa Brooks says Xbox is really setting their ecosystem up for cloud. That couldn't be any further, or actually closer to being the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to be cloud-based and subscription-based. I mean, it is with what I do for work, and it is with the gaming world as well. I mean, look at Game Pass and PS Plus, all this stuff. I mean, even though it's existed for a while, we're definitely moving into that digital age of just everything being subscription-based. So
Mm-hmm.
something to be mindful of for sure.
Yeah, got to watch out for it. The times they are changing. So
To the cloud, yeah, everything's going to be cloud-based, man.
it's kind of exciting in a way, but it's also kind of frightening for a collector like myself.
Yeah, it's disheartening for
Yeah.
sure. Even for me, I'm not a big physical guy anymore, but occasionally, I respect it. and two, occasionally I still will buy a physical if it's worth getting. So,
Yeah.
There's still a place there for me.
Yeah. Vortex chimes in. If it wasn't for Game Pass, I wouldn't have played anything else but PUBG again this year. There's a lot of truth to that. There's games that I never would have played if it weren't for Game Pass because I never would have even looked into them. It's very easy for me to just be scrolling in the app, see the cover art for something, click on it, get a description, and be like, "This looks fun." Hit download, and that stretch of time right after I finished Doom Eternal was largely populated with random games from Game Pass, and you know, um, it was awesome being able to just fire something up and not really have any sort of build or wait for it. Just didn't know what it was. Looked cool. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to them migrating the rest of the Bethesda library into the service. I think Skyrim is supposed to be hitting soon if it hasn't already. So, if you ever decide to move your Vampire Lord over to the green side, it'll be waiting for you.
Well, I can't tell you, when that game came out in 2011, I was exclusively playing it on the 360.
Were you? Okay.
I was, yeah. I was a
Wow.
huge 360 guy, man, before
Yeah.
you and I even connected.
Yeah.
Huge.
That's crazy. I see you as such firmly entrenched in Sony's camp.
I mean, I am now.
Right.
Because the PS4 did that to me. It put a spell on me. But before that, I absolutely, I mean, the 360 was my go-to. Yeah, Vic knows. He's chiming off some games now that we had in circulation, that's for sure.
Interesting. Well, maybe one day we can still bring it back over to the green
It's a great
side.
system. I think the 360 is one of the best systems ever.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah, more persuasion.
Yeah. I'll keep trying. Well, man, was there anything else that you want to talk about? I think we're at the end of our list of topics here.
No, I don't think so, man. I think that was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I think it brings a lot of clarity to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I might have to broaden my horizons of games, man, because I don't want to be let down year after year like this.
Yeah.
I say it like it's been going on for years, and it really hasn't.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like within the past year, specifically, your view of what is appealing to you is narrowed. So
that's fair.
I think it is worth your time to explore other options. And unfortunately, it's not easy to do that on the PlayStation or on the Switch. It's a lot easier to do that on the Xbox. I'm not saying buy an Xbox, but you have to invest money into buying a game that you may or may not like. Whereas on the Xbox, it's part of the Game Pass. I just install it and play it. And if I don't like it, I uninstall it. It doesn't really harm anything and waste an hour or two and I'm done. But I do think that you're missing out on some wonderful experiences. And it's hearing you say some of the things you were saying about the Game Awards before was a little concerning because you were so in tune with games like Grease and what were some of the other games that you played? Edith Finch, I think you played.
Oh yeah, What Remains of Edith Finch,
Journey,
Vanishing of Ethan Carter, yeah.
Limbo, and that desire for that AAA blockbuster trailer, I think, goes in the complete opposite direction of those games that you've spoken extremely highly of. So
it does.
I don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to help you.
I can see the concern.
I'm very concerned.
I'm well aware of this.
I'm very concerned because the path that you're on, I could see within the next year and a half, you're like, I'm done with video games.
No, never.
Okay.
I think there's no. I think that there's absolutely a need for really heartwarming, special indie games in my life. That's never going to change. I have migrated in that direction. There's no doubt. But ultimately, I think when it comes to the shows, you know what it is? When I play indie games, I never discover them through award shows or expos. They're usually something that I discover on my own or somebody recommends them. I think I'm still stuck in that weird early 2000s gamer mode or mindset where I want to be blown away every single E3 with these crazy looking titles that are showing off the systems. And I think that's a better way for me to explain to the listeners and yourself in terms of what I'm looking for. I want to see next gen blockbuster hits at these kind of shows for whatever reason. And I guess it's just that's my popcorn moment, right? Like I want to see like, the Avengers when I go to the E3. I don't want to see Journey.
Right.
And I think that, these award shows are, there's more journeys, I guess, if you could say, coming into play, and that's perfectly okay. But I think there's just a part of me that perhaps needs to recognize that I'm not always going to get, The Last of Us 2 and God of War and all these big titles at every single award show back to back.
Yeah. That's fair. Man,
so hopefully that makes more sense than what I was trying to say before.
It does. There's some I can't wait for Road 96. That game looks like it's going to be so fucking cool. And that song, which I published as our Music Monday song today, it's been in my head since I heard it. Love it.
There was one game that did look good that was not a big blockbuster AAA. Which really, I'm laughing at myself now because I'm like literally, I really am the opposite of a AAA blockbuster game guy. So maybe I have some like meditating to do on this, but there was one game that was looking really good, and I can't remember the name of it now. I know you guys were excited about it. It was a dude with like these cool like glasses on, and he was like riding a bike in a field or something.
Was it Seasons?
Yes.
Yeah. Last Son of Bob just mentioned that as well too. That game looks super, super awesome. I almost said that game looks dope, but that's like really awkward for me.
Yeah, sometimes I catch myself saying that. I'm like, I don't speak like this in reality. So yeah, there were a few games like that did catch my attention. Yeah. But ultimately, because I'm like a sour, grumpy old man, I didn't allow myself to enjoy it because I had Lauren over there like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is weird. I think if I had watched it alone, I probably would have had a better experience.
You know what, man? Like, I find that these types of things are always better when you're surrounded with people that are like-minded. Whether it's a dissenting opinion or not, just being part of the same community makes a difference. If I wasn't live tweeting those awards, I probably would have been bored. I probably would have been fucking around on my phone, and I probably wouldn't have paid attention to half of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is just being extremely hopeful. And what I mean by that is, I would say unrealistically hopeful is kind of my mindset. And I need to kind of just put that in check sometimes.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's wrap it up there. We're going to continue this conversation in our Discord room. So if you would like to participate in that, swing on by. There's going to be a link for it in the description below. If you're listening to this after it releases to the podcast world, check out our show notes. We have a link for it there. Or just go to our website, www.WDGRPodcast.com. Links are there for everything we do. I'm going to spam the chat room with a bunch of links. Check them out. There's all the links. I got to fix that because that looks like shit. So that's going to be, I'm off tomorrow. So that's one of my projects is fixing that shit up.
God bless.
Oh my God. I need a day off from like the world.
Yeah, you do.
We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Will, how can they find you?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
Part of my routine tomorrow is going to be catching up on all the songs of yours that I have not listened to. I have a very efficient way of marking which ones I have and haven't heard yet.
Good. I think the new ones will be helpful for you tomorrow since you kind of need a break. You know, they're a little bit more chill than my typical works.
My break will probably be Wednesday. Tomorrow I have a lot of stuff I have to get done. So
fair.
You can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. Check out my pinned tweet, which is a running thread of Cyberpunk 2077 pictures and videos on the Xbox Series X. Let me know what you think of the game. Drop a comment, say hello, send me photos of your cats and your dogs, whatever. We need more cats and dogs in this world. And I think that's going to do it. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the Twitch crew for sitting in with us and chatting, talking about games and making this stream a lot of fun. And we'll see you next week.
See ya.